Okay, so I misspoke. I was claiming that the majority of the poems in Billy Collins' book Ballistics were all poems about writing poetry, or poems about another specific poem. And often, it seems, uh, with a tongue-in-cheek regret, uh, much like you found in the predecessor of this book, his book entitled The Trouble with Poetry. Um, I found this interesting simply because I love Billy Collins, and there are so many poets throughout time that have written about writing and about the art of writing poetry itself, but usually it's maybe one or two of their works, not a whole book full of them. Well, to be fair, out of the 55 poems in this book, only about 11, maybe 12 at most, can be said to be about poetry, or about writing poems. So, we're going to take a look at them, starting with, how about... Well, that one's sort of questionable. It does mention Wallace Stevens. It's called August. But okay, maybe only 10. Let's read one called The Poems of Others. Is there no end to it? The way they keep popping up in magazines, then congregate in the drafty orphanage of a book. You would think the elm would speak up, but like the dawn, it only inspires. Then more of them appear. Not even the government can stop it. Just this morning, one approached me like a possum, snout twitching, impossible to ignore. Another looked out of the water at me like an otter. How can anyone dismiss them when they dangle from the eaves of houses and throw themselves in our paths? Perhaps I'm being harsh, even ridiculous. It could have been that day at the zoo that put me this way, all the children by the cages. As if only my poems had the right to exist, and people would come down from the hills in the evening to view them in rooms of white marble. So I will take the advice of the mentors and put this in a drawer for a week, maybe even a year or two, and then have a calmer look at it. But for now, I am going to take a walk through this nearly silent neighborhood that is my winter resting place, my hibernaculum, and get my mind off the poems of others, even as they peer down from the trees or bark at my passing in the guise of local dogs. I like that one a lot. As if only my poems have the right to exist, of course. Well, I like this one too, and it's also proper for a sunny day here in the gazebo. I'm in the park, the King Street Park in Northumberland, in case you're a local or wondering. You might be able to see some of the 4th of July evidence around me in the middle of a craft fair called the Pine Knotter Days. All that has nothing to do with this next piece, which is called Addendum. What I forgot to tell you in the last poem, if you were paying attention at all, was that I really did love her at the time. The maritime light in the final lines might have seemed contrived, as false as any puffed-up Italian sonnet, and the same could be said for the high cliffside flowers I claimed to have introduced to her hair, and sure, the many imaginary moons I said were circling our bed as we slept, the cosmos enclosed by the walls of the room. But the truth is, we loved to take long walks on the windy shore, not the shore between the sea of her and the symbolic land of me, but the real shore of empty shells, the sun rising, the water running up and back. Addendum, what I forgot to tell you in that last poem. I love it.